Have you ever thought you'd see a scene so stunning it makes the time seem to stop, right? One of those things that, at the same time, stir the heart and seem to defy the logic of what we're used to seeing on a day-to-day? Because that's exactly what happened on a stretch of the busy road, where an ordinary dog has become a true hero. What are you going to find out now? You will be surprised and perhaps even change the way you look. The loyalty of the animals. Picture the scene. The cars passing by at high speed. The drivers are focused on their own ground. And in the midst of this scenario is so common, a dog, who, instead of fleeing from danger, she decides to confront him in a way that few humans would do. It is not only an act of bravery, but it is a gesture charged with emotion, courage, and an instinct to an almost mind-boggling. You've been through some situations in which a simple look or attitude of an animal and makes you think about the true meaning of friendship and protection. If you haven't, this story is going to touch something deep inside of you. What makes this moment so powerful is it exactly surprising that he makes. That is different from the expected behavior of the dog doesn't hide or run away, but remains strong in the one place where every living being's wise to try to protect themselves. This approach, which can appear up to a harmless, it must be a very special reason behind it. It's as if the dog was telling you all that, right there, at that very moment, something that's more important than your own safety. It was in the game. As you follow each and every detail from this narrative, one that stays with me until the very end, because they understand what motivated this act goes beyond just admire your courage. This is a lesson in faithfulness and unconditional love, and the extent to which the animals are and connect with us in ways that often go unnoticed. Follow the story and prepare to be moved by a real-life example of a friendship that goes beyond any barrier. Right now, try to imagine what that might be necessary for making a dog in danger from the traffic and to call to the attention of the drivers in a hurry. I wonder what he saw or felt that made him act like that. The answer to this question, you're closer than you think, and it is going to give too much away about what it means to be a friend. We'll be together to find out how in this scene stopped traffic the whole began, and they took that dog to become a true symbol of bravery. When you stop to think about what it takes for a dog to face the sea of noisy cars, it's impossible not to feel a tightness in my chest. It is not just an instinct, not a single impulsive act. It's a tie, invisible force which is born of the heart and the deep desire to protect the person that he loves, even if it means putting people at risk. And it is this courage, quiet, often overlooked in the fast-paced day-to-day. If this topic makes no sense to you, leave it here in the comments on what you played so far. You may have been in a similar situation, or you have a four-legged friend that I taught him about courage and loyalty. We share these stories are not only enriches the conversation, but it also creates a network of empathy, which makes this a space to grow up for real. Your experience doesn't matter, and it can inspire other people who need to hear these words of hope and strength. And if you feel that this is the type of content that brings something positive to your day, and don't miss to enjoy this video. Each to enjoy it for a vote of no confidence, which helps the message reach more people. The more people you need to connect with that energy. In addition to this, if you subscribe to the channel, it's the simplest way to make sure that you are not going to miss out on what is still to come, because that's the story, and the many more that we want to tell you. It only makes sense if they lived with you. After all, this journey is for all of us. When we begin to understand the power of small actions, have a feeling that the whole world opens up to new possibilities. It is as if the gesture, small as it may seem, he carried an invisible force that can transform not only what is around us, but also what's going on inside of us. The truth is hidden behind this movement. It is precisely the connection that we created for you in the thinking that we have adopted in order to face the challenges and opportunities. It's not just about the work that we do, but how does it impact on our eyes, our hearts, our journey? And this is where the transformation starts to make even more sense. Because when we realize that our choices have an effect far greater than previously imagined, the responsibility shifts from place to place. It's not just about me, but about we, the collective, which is strengthened on the basis of what they choose to offer. What seemed like a simple, like a comment, a change of ideas, an interaction it will be a catalyst for something bigger than themselves. That momentum spread, the echo, and all of a sudden you're inside the movement that goes beyond the screen of the phone or your daily routine. But the journey is not linear. It is not always that smooth. Many of the times, it is a behind-the-scenes battle is silent between what we want and what we fear, and insists on making us believe that we can't reach it. It's this kind of internal conflict that shapes who we are and who sets the pace of our transformation. And to understand this, it is essential to not give up in the middle of the road. Because the truth is that every major change is about having the courage to get out of your comfort zone, to face uncertainty, and to follow, even when you clearly have not yet fully formed. And in the process of the revelation, the more valuable it is that we don't have to do it alone. The power of community, in supporting each other in the exchange is true. It's what gives you the support, so that each of you continue firm in their journey. It's as if every voice, every story shared, it would be a very important part to put together the puzzle for the transformation of society. The sum of all those experiences, it creates a fertile environment for new ideas to flourish, so that people can breathe new life into and to find find out the paths which before would have seemed impossible. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because they understand the impact of these connections that goes beyond what we see on the surface. It is about how our daily choices influence not only the present, but also the future that we are building for ourselves and for those who will come after you. The mindset that we use, the way we think about those challenges, and the meaning that we give to our actions, it all adds up to an invisible network that maintains a constant evolution. The most fascinating part of it is that this movement is not a final destination, but a continuous journey, full of discovery and learning. In fact, for the transformation happen in cycles, where each step is an opportunity to revisit the beliefs, adjust the direction, and strengthen the resolve. It is in this movement that we can find true freedom, the freedom to rewrite our history and build a legacy that has purpose and meaning. And if you stop to think about it, the ability to reinvent his own life is within the reach of everyone, from which we would be willing to look inward, to the question of what limits us, and to make room for the new one. It is an invitation to get out of autopilot, to take over the reins of the way, with a conscience and a passion. In the place of a leadership role in the transformation, takes on a life of truth. With this in mind, it is clear that the impact of our decisions go far beyond what we had imagined. Every step we take, every action we take, echoes at a frequency that can inspire, motivate, and transform it to other people. And it's such a contagious energy, which creates a virtuous cycle of change, where the group grows, along with the individual. That is where the success of one can become the fuel for your success. So think, what is the legacy you want to leave? What sort of impact do you want to cause? To these questions, no matter how simple it may seem, is a powerful engine for change, a genuine and deep. From there, we begin to draw a path that is more aligned to our values, our dreams, and the energy that we wish to spread around the world. He comments that I'm on this journey too. When you start to look at these questions with sincerity, and something very interesting happens to our way of thinking began to change. And it's not just a change of the surface type, change clothes, or take up a new habit. This is a real revolution in the silence. It's going to mess with the way in which we see life, and the decisions, and even our place in the world. This change has a direct impact on the choices we make every day, often without realizing it. For this reason, it is important to understand that each and every decision, no matter how small, is connected to this truth is hidden, that we are still discovering himself. At the bottom, on the journey to leave a legacy of authentic and meaningful, it is an invitation to immerse yourself in the behind the scenes of our very existence. It's right there, in that intimate space, and is often silent, which take place on the revelations of the deepest. The revelations that show us who we really are, what our priorities are, and more importantly, what do we want to grow in our relationships, in our work, and in the way you have designed it for the future. It's different than following a fixed recipe, or imitating someone you've already got. It's about creating a narrative is true, then it might make sense to our hearts and on our minds. And do you know what is interesting? Many of the times we believe that this transformation will need to be a great process, with a change radical and immediate. But the truth is that building on this legacy, it happens in the detail, the small actions every day that will add up, creating a knock-on effect. With a smile, the most sincere, attentive listening, as an act of courage to say no when something doesn't quite go with what you believe in. This is the set of choices that can impact the real start to show up, and that's where the life is won for an extra layer of meaning. The magic lies in this constancy, in this continuous alignment between the way we think, feel, and do. The extent to which this idea is being consolidated, we begin to realize that the real power lies in the authenticity. Don't even try to fit it all in patterns that do not represent us, or to seek external validation as the primary fuel. Because at the end of the day, what we're left with is what we have built it with our heart. It is this truth that will resonate and inspire others by creating a network of connections to be genuine and manufacturing. And it is this network that supports your journey, giving you the strength to face the challenges and to keep it up even when everything seems to be up in the air. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because, you understand, this internal transformation is not just a matter of getting to know yourself, but it is also a powerful tool that helps you make better decisions, aligned, and are aware of this. As we understand the impact that our choices are not only in the US, but also in the surrounding areas, we can begin to act in a different way. We realize that every step forward is a seed that can flourish in ways not previously imagined. And it is this consciousness that opens the door to a new perspective, where the fear gives way to courage, and the question turns to curiosity to explore the unknown. This is a change of mindset is the one that allows you to see the legacy, not as a burden or an obligation, but as a natural expression of who we are and what we want to share with. It is an invitation to live with more purpose, to create a meaningful life where each and every experience, every encounter, every challenge is an opportunity for growth. And more than that, it's a chance to lay down a marker in excess of the time, carrying on in the stories, the memories, and the impact that we make on the world around us. If you think about it, this journey is not only about ourselves, but about a deep connection that we have with all that is going on around us, the people we love, the causes we support, to the planet that we live on. It is a call to act with responsibility responsibility, and empathy, and understanding that will be the legacy we want to leave you too. It's a reflection of our ability to take care of and have a positive impact on our reality. This is to look at the broader invites us to think not only in terms of individuals, but the impact of the collective, that invisible force that moves the communities, and generates social change, and inspires a new generation. And it is precisely at this point that the decisions to gain a different weight. Because it's not about doing what's easy or comfortable, but is that really resonates with our inner selves and with the vision that we have for the future. It's a paradigm shift. It is about having the courage to break away from old patterns and to make room for the new, the unknown. But it is in the opening where the real magic happens, when we move beyond the familiar, to challenge the limits, and to build new paths, which is supported by a purpose that goes beyond the individual. Because of this, our journey, it is essential to cultivate a mindset of a flexible accepted as part of the process, and you see the obstacles as opportunities for learning and enhancing your progress, even if it's slow or flawed. After all, it is the transformation will never happen in a linear or predictable. It is a constant movement, a dance of who we were, who we are, and who we want to become. And it is this dance of the people, is the freedom to create a legacy, that is to say, in fact, the true nature of our existence. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. When you begin to look at the transformation as a journey, full of nuances, it is clear that in each time step, as small as it may seem, it carries itself with a force that redefines the whole way. It is not a process that takes place in a straight line, but rather a series of decisions made by interlacing, which would require the courage to face up to the truths hidden in all of us. Many of the times, prevents you from changing it is not a lack of desire, but it's just the fear of leaving what we already know. Even if this is known, it is a prison in disguise of security. The mindset that we have adopted in the face of those moments when the delicate this is to determine the impact of this transformation in our lives. There is something fascinating in the way that the human mind to resist, and at the same time, he longs for a new story. It's like a battle in the silent comfort of the past, and the promise of a future that is uncertain, but it is potentially liberating. The key is to understand that the battle does not need to be all-out war, but it could be a dance in a harmonious, where each and every move us closer to our essence. When we allow this change to happen, it's not just a change in the external environment, but it made a revolution in the domestic reverberations in all that we do. This is the point where the journey is no longer just a pathway to the individual, and becomes a bridge that connects our world with the one from the other, creating a legacy that transcends time. Think of the transformation. From this perspective, it reveals all the behind the scenes of the process. Though they are often invisible to the eyes of others, it is deeply shocking. The change doesn't just happen on the big events, decisions, and information, but the details of everyday life. In the choice of a different thought, the decision to respond with empathy, and the courage to face conversation is difficult. Each of these small actions is a brick in the building of a new reality, a reality where the authenticity is not just an ideal, but it is a common practice. This movement, in turn, feeds the trust and to strengthen our ability to navigate the challenges, even if they seem to be so overwhelming. I now want to go more in depth on this subject in order to reveal the often hidden behind that of the major changes is the need to give a new meaning to our own stories. Everyone carries a wealth of experiences, beliefs, and memories that shape the way we see the world and ourselves. For real change to happen, it is necessary to revisit these records to built in and ask what you would want to keep and what needs to be let out. In this process, it can be difficult to do because it's moving in the wounds of old and it challenges the truths that we believe strong. But there is the power in the courage to allow yourself to look within and without a mask. And you have to accept that we are in a constant state of evolution, the subject of the successes and failures. In this in-depth look into the inside of yourself is one of the most powerful ways to break up patterns, or both. When we can recognize all the stories in the trap, we open up space to create new stories, more in line with who you really are and what you desire to manifest into the world. It is an exercise in autocompexo, and honestly, one that requires patience and persistence, but it also brings with it a sense of freedom, second to none. This freedom is not the absence of trouble, but you can choose how to respond to them, while maintaining the integrity and clarity of purpose. In addition to this, the transformation of internal echoes in all areas of your life, from your relationships to your career choices and how we face the challenges of the day. When you give a new meaning to our experiences, we have gained a fresh perspective that enables us to make conscious, informed decisions that align with our deepest values. This is a change in the mindset of a real catalyst for growth, as it frees us from the doldrums, and that leads us up to the front. The impact of this is huge, because it becomes not only a reality, but also in the way that we affect the environment around us, creating a knock-on effect. It is interesting to note that, as you embark on this journey of transformation, a lot of people find that the process is, in fact, a number of revelations about themselves. These findings act as pieces of a jigsaw puzzle which, when pressed together, form a picture of what you want and what you're capable of accomplishing. And that clarity is the key to maintaining motivation, especially at the time of the walk it looks heavy and confused. After all, it is the transformation did not happen all at one time or another, but it is built on a day-to-day, with the decisions, large and small, that will add up to create a powerful and long-lasting. I now want to go more in depth on this topic to explore, as this is a journey of self-discovery, and a new one can be a call to rethink our relationship with time, with success. Many times we get caught in the templates are preset, that set the pace and the demands of what is considered to be a successful life, and that leads us away from our true selves. When we allow ourselves to slow down and look within, we see that genuine success is very much a matter of the internal alignment of the achievements of the outside. This change in perspective, it is a transformation in and of itself, because it sets us free from the outside pressures and then invites us to create our own pace, all the while respecting the uniqueness of our journey. He comments that, "I'm on this journey too." And it is precisely at this point that we begin to understand that true transformation is not what the world expects from us, but which we recognize as essential to our lives. This is a change of mind that you may look simple at first glance. It is a real revolution in the quiet of what happens behind the scenes in our minds. When we allow ourselves to slow down, then we open the space for a deeper look. On a built-in lots of times, it was drowned by the noise of the outside. It's as if, suddenly, all the pieces begin to fit it all in a way that we never thought was possible. And that's the most intriguing thing of all. When we stop trying to follow a predetermined path, and life is beginning to see opportunities that were previously hidden, or that we just couldn't see it. This is because, when we find our own speed, we have created an internal environment where creativity and authenticity, flowers bloom of course. The impact of this goes far beyond that of any conquest of a material can give a sense of completeness. To comply with, the truth is hidden out there in the US. This day, however, it is not a straight line. It requires making constant choices that may seem small, but they carry a heavy burden in the construction of our journey. Sometimes it is necessary to give up the certainty that I had about how life is supposed to be, to embrace uncertainty with courage and confidence. It is in this movement that we realize the power they have over our own history, with the understanding that the control is just an illusion, but it is the responsibility of the actions that we take is the one that actually becomes your reality. And it's fascinating to realize that this change affects not only us, but also for the people around you. When one has found that the alignment of the internal, it creates a sort of domino effect, inspiring other people to look in their own way, the decelerarum, and you look at the inside with the most care and attention. This is an invisible web of connections, and the energy that is spread with the force to show that real change starts within each one of you. But that never happens in isolation. Now think about the behind the scenes of this change. It is important to note that it is not always a process that is comfortable for you. Many times you need to face the fears, insecurities, and old patterns that were hidden in the back, waiting for the right moment to be confronted with. It's as if the journey was a revelation of progressive, revealing the layers that you don't even know they were there. And with this revelation, even though challenging, it is also liberating, because it is only when we recognize that these aspects are hidden, that is, that it can actually work in order to integrate them and move on. It is at this point that we understand that your success, and what seemed to be a bit far away and foreign, is in fact a reflection of our internal state. When your heart and mind are aligned, and the decision-making will become more clear in the actions that are most consistent, and earn a pace that makes sense for us. Such a deep connection with ourselves and others creates a strong foundation that supports the storm, because it's built on authenticity and awareness. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that transformation is not just about finding the peace and balance. It also involves the courage to reinvent yourself constantly. Life is in a constant motion, and we need to be prepared to accompany the dance, adapt to change, and always looking for new ways to grow. This is a flexibility of mind is one of the biggest revelations of what we have, because it teaches us that change is a continuous process, not the finish line. And this is where it comes to the importance of reflection, and a daily moment of silence that we allow you to look inward and ask themselves, what do I really want? Who I am making the choices I make today? These questions are powerful, because we can connect you with the present and help us to make conscious, informed decisions that align with our inner selves. It's a constant exercise in self-knowledge that you may look simple, but it has a profound impact on our lives. In addition to this mindset, and to this provision for the transformation, helping us to cope up with the challenges that come up along the way. Rather than seeing obstacles, such as barriers, we can begin to see them as opportunities to learn and grow. This shift in perspective, it is essential for those who want to live a more authentic and complete, because it makes every experience is a stepping stone for the advancement of people. So, when we talk on the slow down and look into it, we are talking about an invitation on a journey of revelation and discovery, which goes far beyond that which can be seen on the surface. It is a process that transformed not only the way we see it, but it's also the impact that we have on the world around us. And this is, without a doubt, this is one of the greatest wealth that you can accomplish in life. He comments that, I'm on this journey too. When we can pause, it's not just a moment of relaxation. This is a real opening for an internal transformation, which often happens in a way that's so subtle that you barely notice it. It is as if your thoughts speeded up. The concern and the noises outside were in a dense fog that prevents us from seeing clearly that our own desires, fears, and even of the hidden truth that we have in there. To slow down, so it's like a breath of wind that is going away this fog, revealing the landscapes of the inmates who had been hiding, just waiting to be discovered. In this process, even though it seems simple in theory, but it requires a change in mindset. Why slowing down is not only a decrease in the rhythm of the body or from the day-to-day tasks, but also to slow down the mind, and the challenge to the constant flow of information and the need for an almost compulsory to always producing, always delivering results. It is an invitation to embrace the silence, the emptiness, and to allow them to be in a space that's fertile for the growth. And it is precisely in this area that there is the opportunity to make choices that are more conscious, more in line with who we really are, and not only with those who believe that we ought to be. This is a change of mentality. It's a sort of revolution of the inner, which has a direct impact on our journey. When we begin to see our own high standards, the challenge of our past decisions, and the understanding of why certain attitudes, we open the door to self-discovery and deep. And it is that self-knowledge is the power to transform. Each and every insight, each of the congregation, and the people will become aware of what really matters to you, from what nourishes us, and that limits us. It is as if we are dismantling, piece by piece, the structure that moved our lives from the automatically, so you can ride to something new, lighter in weight, more real. But it's not an easy walk or drive. Many of the times, the slowing down brings up the problems which we prefer to avoid: insecurities, doubts, and old wounds. This is the point where the guts is absolutely essential. The courage to face these shadows in order to recognize that they are a part of our story, but you don't need to choose our own future. The journey within is, above all, is a statement of self-love, an act of care, which requires patience, gentleness, and a provision to seek to reinvent themselves. It is a process that, while challenging, it loads for a reward without measure: the freedom to be themselves. When you realize the impact of this change, we believe that it is not limited to our personal universe. It reverberates in our relationships, in work, in the way that we interact with the world. That's why, when we connect with our essence, we begin to act with more empathy, presence, and purpose. We have a positive impact on the people around us, creating a domino effect that, yes, it can generate significant changes in various spheres of life. This is the famous butterfly effect going on both inside and outside of the US. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Why not slow down and look inside? It's not only a practical in the moment or a passing fad. It is an invitation to immerse yourself in the behind the scenes of our lives in order to understand the gear and invisible that move our emotions, our behaviors, and our decision making. It is a journey that invites us to be the authors of our own story with a greater awareness of each chapter for what is to come. And for this reason, it is essential to learn how to recognize the signals that our body and our mind gives us, because they are the indicators of the believers in the State House. This heightened awareness will help us to identify when we are away from our truth, when we are all succumb to the fast-paced society throws at you. It is a reminder to us to recalibrate our way, to realign your feet. And it's more than that. It's a constant learning about the balance between action and rest, to do and to be. This dynamic is well understood, and it creates a space of freedom so that we can live more lightly on the planet and the meaning of it, without the constant pressure to always be on the pace. As you are well aware of that is going to grow, we realize that slowing down is not a sign of weakness or a lack of productivity, but rather an act of wisdom and strength. It's a way to salvage the connection to what is really essential, what feeds our soul. And it was in this meeting with the same, we find the power to make more informed decisions in a row, to build a life that makes sense at all. It's a life that reflects our deepest values and our dreams as the most important. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." And it is precisely at this point of the journey, it begins to reveal its deeper layers, the ones that don't appear right away, but when they are discovered, they make quite the way we see ourselves and the world around us. Because you see, it's easy to get lost in the middle of the hectic schedule and daily obligations, the expectations of the external, which the company insists on the need to put on our shoulders. But the truth is hidden, is that when you slow down, when it is allowed to look into the inside, with honesty and without judgment, he begins to realize that the real impact is in the little choices we make every day, the ones that often go unnoticed. It is in this gap between what we want and what we live to change. And I am not talking about a change in the superficial fleeting, but it is a movement, a deep, almost invisible, that is shaping our way of thinking and getting ready for the matters that are before you. It could seem impossible. The beauty of it is that there is a magical formula or a step-by-step that there is an invitation for you to join us behind the scenes of one's own life, is in order to understand the mechanisms by which on the move, the fear that we will lock, and the hopes with which we drive. This finding in itself is a victory for the silent, a sure sign that we are on the right track. But it is only natural that, over the course of the journey, the internal you have any questions, resistors, and the old inner voice that tries to convince us that we are not capable or worthy of. It is here that the ability to self-discovery history becomes our greatest ally. When we are able to identify the voice and to question them, to open up the space for a new narrative, a narrative that places us as the protagonists of our own history, with the autonomy to choose what really matters to you. It is to be able to. And it can, when used in conjunction with a conscience, and it has a knock-on effect. It transforms not only your life, but also in the way in which we interact with each other and the world of the future. Now just think to myself, how many times have you felt stuck in a cycle of decisions that didn't seem to make sense? How many times in the routine seemed to be crushing their dreams and aspirations? These experiences, as painful as they are a key part of the process of growing up. They can be used as a mirror, reflecting all areas of our lives that need attention, care, and above all, the courage to change it. And it is this courage that has made all the difference, because it is the one that drives us to get out of your comfort zone, face your fear of the unknown, to embrace the uncertainty, the confidence that in the future, no more waiting. This confidence, however, does not appear out of nowhere. It is built up gradually, starting from the small steps that we take to align our actions with our deepest values. And here comes the importance of being open-minded and flexible, which means that the journey is not a straight line, but it is a path full of curves, twists, and learnings we have listed. Each and every experience, whether it be good or bad, it is a unique opportunity for growth, a chance to rewrite their own history, and if you zoom in, more and more, the life we want to live in. I now want to go more in depth on this subject by exploring how this inner transformation has a direct influence on the decisions that we make on a day-to-day. Because it's not just a matter of understanding who we are, but how does this understanding is translated into concrete choices that have an impact on our reality. When you begin to take action from time to time to understand the purpose, and the world around us responds to it in a different way, relationships are strengthened, and the challenges that they cease to be insurmountable obstacles, and it will be the stairs in a staircase in our staff development. And that's where the true magic lies, in that journey in power. We have to give a new meaning to each individual's experience of finding meaning in adversity and use it as fuel to move forward. It is a process that requires patience and dedication, but at the same time, it is a deeply liberating. After all, it is to recognize that we are active agents in our own transformation. It puts us in control of our history and gives us back a sense of ownership, and he invites us to build a life that is authentic, that is aligned with what you really are. He comments that, "I'm on this journey too." This sense of ownership, when it finally starts to solidify, it carries with it an impact that goes far beyond what we normally think. It is not just a personal victory, or, for a time, isolated from self-awareness, is a deep transformation, a change in mentality, which reverberates in all areas of your life, such as opening a door to a world of possibilities before you, invisible. The most fascinating part of it is that this journey does not happen in a linear fashion. It is full of ups and downs, doubts and beliefs, accomplishments and setbacks. But in the midst of this turmoil, there is a truth to hide. Few can see right away, is that the process is, above all, an invitation to get to know who you really are, uncovering the layers of daily life many times insist on hiding. When you realize that you're not overreacting to events in an automated way, but choosing how to respond, he begins to experience the freedom that is almost tangible. This freedom does not come by chance, nor a silver bullet. It is born out of the awareness of the decision-making every day to take the reins of her own life, and that's a game changer. We went to see the impact of our decision-making, not as something that is heavy-duty and restraint, but instead as an opportunity for the constant creation and reinvention. It is as if we had discovered a behind-the-scenes of a show of grandeur, which the script is written in real time, and with each scene you can choose to tweak of the dialogue, change the direction, you have to reinvent the story. But, in order for this transformation to be real and lasting, it is necessary to go beyond the surface. Don't you just want to switch, or to search for a happiness in the moment that fades with time? The key is to jump in the deep end, to reflect on the beliefs that have shaped the way up here, for those who may be so deeply rooted that we don't even notice anymore that they are there. It is at this point of the journey, it is really an interesting one, because it is where you can see the signs that it might be to debunk the old standard, and to make room for a new way to be. In this relation, though challenging, is the one that paves the way for a life that is more in line with that of the essence, for an experience that is more authentic and fulfilling. It is curious how, in this process, we begin to realize that the transformation is not a final destination, but it is a constant. It is a flow that demands flexibility and courage to adjust to the question of what seemed to be the final one, and embrace the unknown. This fluidity is, in fact, it is one of the greatest riches of this journey, because it allows us to grow without the fear of making a mistake, learn from it without the burden of the collection, and to improve without the pressure to be perfect. This is an invitation for you to build up a history with respect to the time of its development, that the value of each step, and recognize the power of self-discipline. When you connect with that momentum, he begins to understand what true leadership is not in control of all the details, but from what we are, with all our imperfections and uniqueness. This is the point where the journey takes on a new meaning, because it is not a search for something outside of, and shall be an internal experience experience of self-discovery and self-awareness. This change in perspective is essential in order for the transformation to be genuine and to keep it alive, even in the face of the inevitable challenges that will arise in the way. I now want to go more in depth on this topic and to explore how these conscious decisions influence not only the individual, but also the environment around us. After all, when a person begins to act from your truth, and she will of course impact on their relationships, their career choices, and even the way you perceive the world. Peer pressure, too many times to be silent, it has a knock-on effect that could inspire significant change in the circles, the larger one, creating a ripple effect that extends beyond the boundaries of the individual, and it touches the entire community. It is at this point that, for the transformation of the staff, they connect with something bigger, with a purpose that goes beyond the I, becomes an agent of change in society. And it is precisely this connection between the development of the internal and external impact that it makes on the journey that is as rich and challenging. Because at the same time, we are dedicated to the understanding of one's own behind the scenes, it is also necessary to pay attention to the dynamics of the world around us, to the demands and opportunities that come from the choices we make the most authentic. This is the interdependence between the internal and the external. It is one of those things and more powerful than the journey of transformation is revealed, showing that authenticity is not an isolated act, but rather a force that can transform reality. He comments that it makes no sense to me. This connection between what we carry inside and we would like to express out there, it's a kind of a mirror, which, when well taken care of, it reflects not only who we are, but also for the impact it can have on the world. It is as if each thought, each emotion is not solved. It is a piece of sealing that is put in the right places. It triggers a chain reaction, and this reaction does not occur by chance. It is the result of choices, informed choices, and a lot of times are tough, because the turn of fact about having the courage to look within and face the truths that are hidden that you would prefer to ignore. When we talk about transformation, and we're not just talking about the changes to the surface, how to replace a job, or a change to their daily routine. The real change is in the mind, in the way that we interpret our experiences, how we filter the world around us, and, above all, how we choose to react to them. It is during this process that we find the power to rewrite our own history, to undo the knots of the past for so long in the Queen of Darkness and create a new path. But in order for that to happen, it will be necessary to go outside the box, get out of your comfort zone, and immerse yourself in the behind the scenes of our minds. It is fascinating to realize that this is a journey. Internal, it has a direct impact on our relationship. As we become more ourselves, not only do we feel more light, but also attract the people and opportunities that are aligned with who you really are. As to the authenticity, it becomes a kind of magnetic power, able to open doors before they seemed to be locked. And the amazing thing about it is that it doesn't just happen to us, but to everyone around us. It's a side effect of the transformation on the way, such as moving within the echo in the room, creating a virtuous cycle of growth and development. But of course, this journey is not linear. Many of the times, we are faced with doubts, fears, and even resistors are internal, and they try to pull us back. It's as if a part of us struggle with the idea of change because they are afraid of the unknown, the uncertain. This is a duality between what we want and what we fear in the face, is one of the major challenges in the transformation. Rise above it demands patience, autocompassion, and a great deal of honesty with yourself. This is how to break down a complex machine, one piece at a time, in order to understand its operation, and then reconstruct it in a way that is more efficient and accurate. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely in the intersection of courage and vulnerability, which is the key to changing needs. The vulnerability, which is often seen as a weakness, it is in fact a gateway to the force. It's when we allow ourselves to be seen to be in our lives, with all the flaws and doubts, and that we opened up the space for real connection, not only with each other, but also about ourselves. This revelation is a game changer, because it shows that the transformation is not a one-off event, but a continuous journey of discovery and adjustment. And within the day, one of the elements of which the most noteworthy is the role of the small daily decisions. It may seem counterintuitive, but it is precisely in these actions, the seemingly insignificant, that the transformation takes shape and consistency. Choose to be kind to you. Even on a busy day, you choose to listen rather than react, to allow herself a moment of pause and reflection. All of this builds a strong foundation for change. It is the sum total of these small steps, which over time, it creates a deep impact and capable of changing, not only on the perception we have of ourselves, but also to the way in which we navigate through the adversities of life. There is also a truth that hides that few know. The true transformation implies a release of old patterns and beliefs that no longer serve you more. It takes a critical look at it, almost surgical, in order to identify the one that needs to be left behind, with no guilt or regrets. Because you carry the baggage of unnecessary is only down and makes it more difficult for the trip. To free yourself from these shackles is an act of self-love. A declaration is silent, that you deserve something better, and be more in line with what we have and not what we were yesterday. As we move forward in the process, we see that the transformation is not a point of arrival, all, but it's a dance-off between the being and the becoming. It is a movement that challenges us to be flexible, to embrace the impermanence, and it's able to recognize that the evolution of a never-ending cycle. And it is this consciousness of itself, and it brings a great relief, because it frees us from the pressure to be perfect and for us to reach a state of perfect. In addition, we appreciate the progress. It's the small victories, and of course, the journey itself, with all its nuances. In this context, it arises as well as the importance of self-awareness as a vital tool to help you navigate through this change. Getting to know yourself is to untangle a personal roadmap that shows us not only the territories of the internal darker, but also a source of energy and inspiration. This knowledge can help you make better decisions, aligned, and that they respect our lives and drive our growth. It is as if to get to know each other better and get a guide to true in order to face the challenges with clarity and confidence. Now, more than ever, it is clear that this journey of transformation, this is an invitation to look within and to recognize our own strengths and limitations and to consciously choose the path you want to follow. It is a process that, in spite of the individual, a collective, powerful, for each and every person who turns to contribute to a more authentic and connected. The real change happens inside, but it echoes in every corner of our lives by showing that the transformation is first and foremost an expression of the freedom of the truth. He comments that, "I'm on this journey too." If you've read this far, then that is a sign that this conversation really resonated in any way, and this is an important first step. We know that the search for a real change is not a simple one, but it's just that, with all of its little nuances, that brings meaning and depth to the experience. For this reason, if you feel that this is the content that makes sense to you, then the call is to go on from here, following the close of the reflections that we're going to share it. Subscribe to the channel. It will help you to get through these ideas a little more slowly, in no hurry, and where you need to go back to some point in time. It will be all here, in an easy to find. In addition to this, when you can leave a comment by saying something like, "I'm on this journey with him," we are creating a space of connection where you can see that we are not alone in this quest. It's nice to know that there are people in there, on the other hand, the living. The challenges are similar and is interested in growing with you. And of course, if this talk has made sense to you, the one you like is a good way to show that the exchange happened. And that's the message that came with clarity, and that the connection that we make is well worth it. It is not a collection, it is a little thing that enhances the community's quiet, but it was present. Now, if you want to continue to explore the idea of transformation, a look at something a little different, there's a video right here on the side which complements this subject with a lot of practice. Click there and follow me over there. The journey is only beginning, and it has a lot more to all of us to figure out together. No rush in our time.